Hey guys, welcome back to Games of War. With the launch of the PlayStation 4 merely days away, I thought it would make sense time-wise to go ahead and take a look at my entire PlayStation 3 collection that I've amassed throughout the years. I want to thank you guys for watching, and enjoy. The PlayStation 3 wound up being my console of choice this generation. But early on, I definitely couldn't say that. The 360 was on fire. Games like Blue Dragon, Lost Odyssey, The Last Remnant, Tales of Vesperia, Magna Carta 2, and even games at the time that were exclusive like Dead Rising, Lost Planet, Saints Row. Most of the third-party games ran better on the 360, so I'd say for 2006, 2007, and maybe 2008, I was all about the 360. But then it seems like sometime around there, Microsoft stopped pumping out and going after exclusive games like that. They were just content to have the best version of the multiplats. And that's where around that time PlayStation started firing on all cylinders with great exclusives that really matched my gaming taste personally, and the PlayStation 3 ended up overtaking the 360, all in my opinion, of course. Now system-wise, I own the Gunmetal Gray PlayStation 3 Metal Gear Solid 4 Limited Edition bundle. I do own the Red Limited Edition PlayStation 3, which serves as a backup system. It's still new in the box. And I have a black 250 gig Slim. If you're saying to yourself, games, why do you have so many PS3s? That's kind of stupid. It makes no sense. Going back to my same theory with limited edition handhelds, I've always been a sucker for variants and limited editions, especially when it's like a red God of War PS3 bundle. I have to have stuff like that, and it's always been a general rule of thumb for me, as far back as the Genesis, always keep a backup system new in the box in case anything happens to your current system. You've always got a backup you can go to. One more thing before we get started taking a look at the games. Even though I said the PlayStation 3 is my system of choice, I am by no means a Sony fanboy. So throughout this collection, if you're saying, oh man, you don't have the Assassin's Creed games, or you don't have Asura's Wrath, or Bioshock, or Mass Effect, I do a lot of research and I buy the multi-platform game on which system it runs best for. So if there's a lot of games that are missing on the PlayStation console that you think, oh, you don't have these games, chances are I have them on the 360. So let's go ahead and get started. I've got over 100 games for the PlayStation 3, so I don't want to waste any more of your time, so here we go. Starting things off, we have the God of War collection. I am a massive God of War fan, love the games to death. We've got the PSP games bundled in HD, we've got the first two PS2 God of Wars bundled in HD, we've got God of War 3 and God of War Ascension. I love this series' brutality, the violence, the story, the setting. Kratos is an awesome character, and I cannot wait to see where the series goes on the PlayStation 4. God of War, must-own series on the PS3 in my opinion. Next we have the Resistance series, and I'm not hugely into first-person shooters. I guess I'm not into first-person shooters that take place in like real-life world settings with real wars and troops and marines, but you give me a first-person shooter with like a science fiction, fantasy universe and setting, made-up characters and situations, and I'm all about it. And Resistance is a very good series from one of my favorite developers, Insomniac. Resistance 1 was the first game I got for my PlayStation 3, so naturally it was my first online experience ever. And I had quite a bit of fun deathmatching and shooting other people from all over the world. The series got better with each installment in my opinion. The third one is great. The Chimera is an alien invasion taking over Earth. You've got to fight back. Great guns, great gunplay, very imaginative guns. The Resistance series is great. Same concept with Killzone. This is the entire trilogy wrapped up into one nice package. Science fiction elements, Killzone is great for that. Some really impressive graphics for the PlayStation 3. Killzone turned a lot of heads. Killzone 3 took it a step further. The original Killzone on PlayStation 2 is in this in HD, and I wasn't too much into the first game on the PS2, but I really enjoyed the second and third installments. If you're looking for a good first-person shooter with some weighty guns and some real momentum behind it, then definitely check out the Killzone series. Next up we have what is in my opinion one of the best platforming game series ever made, and that is Ratchet and Clank. Starting off we have the Ratchet and Clank Collection, which is a HD trilogy of the PS2 games, Ratchet and Clank Going Commando, and Up Your Arsenal. Three great classic PS2 games all in one package in HD with trophies. What more could you ask for? Ratchet and Clank Future Tools of Destruction, the series debut in 2007 on PlayStation 3. Very much approaching Pixar level quality graphics, series trademark humor intact, awesome guns, exploring planets, charm, excellent storylines, very funny, excellent characters. The next game was Ratchet and Clank: A Crack in Time, a continuation of Future Tools. In the middle there was Quest for Booty, which was a downloadable only game, and followed by 2 experiments in the Ratchet and Clank series, which was Ratchet and Clank All for One and Ratchet and Clank Full Frontal Assault. Now, in my opinion, Ratchet and Clank is at its best when it's doing its original premise, which is a action adventure, some light role-playing elements, leveling up, overall huge storylines, exploring planets, upgrading your guns, meeting all the charming and quirky characters, and it's very humorous. It's all told like a tongue-in-cheek type thing, not serious, but they're just such enjoyable games, such great elements to them. Ratchet and Clank All for One is kind of a foray into like a multiplayer game, 4-player simultaneous, and Full Frontal Assault is kind of a real-time strategy, a tower defense type game. Still enjoyable, All for One and Full Frontal Assault, just I prefer traditional Ratchet and Clank games, being platformers / shooter hybrids. All great games. I'm really looking forward to Ratchet and Clank Into the Nexus coming out. Please don't forget about Ratchet. It might get lost in all the next generation hype, but it's coming later on in November. If you're a Ratchet and Clank fan, it's a return to the platforming roots. A great series on the PlayStation 3, and I hope it continues on to the PlayStation 4. Next up, we have the Motorstorm family of racing games. The original Motorstorm was a very early release for the PlayStation 3, a real showpiece for the graphics at the time. Really good looking racing game, really fast, a lot of fun. Overall, the track designs were all very similar, real mud focused, but a great racer with a great boosting mechanic. It was when Pacific hit that the game series really launched into its own, full of lush tropical environments, another breathtaking game graphically speaking on the PS3, great arcade racing action in Pacific Rift. Now, the third game in the series is kind of a tragic tale. It came out and pretty much was ignored. Motorstorm Apocalypse has like a whole doomsday vibe going on. All the environments are kind of war-torn and apocalyptic kind of stuff. It's got a storyline thrown in there for better or for worse. I'm not sure how well it works. It didn't really bother me, but the track design and the amount of carnage going on screen is just mind-boggling. Another great-looking racer, fast, arcadey. The Motorstorm series is an excellent exclusive racing series on the PlayStation 3. Next up, we've got the Ico Shadow of the Colossus collection. Some of the best games from the PlayStation 2 era. Very unique and distinct games made by Team Ico. Every time I play this, I just wonder, what the hell happened to The Last Guardian? Will we ever find out if it's a PS3 game or PS4? Who knows, but until then, you can enjoy some of the best games on the PlayStation 2 here in HD on the PS3. Next up, we have Haze. Now, this one was really hyped up as one of the early exclusives back when PlayStation 3 didn't have a whole lot of exclusives. There was a lot riding on this game's shoulders, and sadly, it didn't really deliver. The game is merely okay. I found it really enjoyable, juicing up on the nectar and becoming like a super soldier, but the rest of the game pretty much fell flat. Haze is okay. Untold Legends Dark Kingdom was one of PlayStation 3's launch games, and it was an okay co-op dungeon crawler experience. It didn't change the game by any means, but it was merely okay, a very average game during the PlayStation 3 launch. And next up we have Lair. Now, this was a pretty colossal failure, ended up closing down Factor 5. I was really hyped up for the game, probably the most hyped for any PlayStation 3 launch game or shortly thereafter launch. And for me, this game delivered. I don't know what everybody's problem was with it. I thought the motion controls worked fine. It's got one of the best soundtracks ever in a game. Some questionable mission objectives aside, I really enjoyed my time with Lair. Heavenly Sword is another early PlayStation 3 game, and this one received quite a bit of hype. They were calling it like God of War with a female, and while that's not entirely true, it did have an action beat-em-up system, but it was motion captured, and Ninja Theory did an awesome job with the storytelling, facial animation, and conveying emotion through cutscenes. Andy Serkis did a great job on this, and I'm a big fan of their other game, which I have on 360, which is Enslaved. Overall, Heavenly Sword was a great action game that came along early in the PlayStation 3's life cycle, and sadly never saw a sequel. I'd love to see another game in this series. Next up, we have Starhawk, and this is kind of a follow-up to Warhawk. Now, Warhawk was originally released on the PlayStation 1 as kind of a flight action game. and then it was remade on the PS3 as a multiplayer-only game. And Starhawk continues that tradition, with the focus being a big multiplayer game. You can get all kinds of different vehicles, but it's also got a single-player campaign. This one was released and was largely ignored. I think it's an excellent game, a lot of fun multiplayer, and a great single-player campaign as well. Next up, we have the Little Big Planet games by Media Molecule on the PlayStation 3, and these games are awesome physics-based platformers with the tagline, "Play, Create, Share." And what that means is not only can you play these awesome platforming physics-based levels, but you can also create these levels. When I say create, I'm talking like fully featured, excellently detailed level customization. You can build to your heart's content. There's some awesome user-created levels to Little Big Planet 1 and 2, all kinds of stickers and all kinds of different outfits to equip Sackboy with. And Sackboy as a character is just a really lovable guy, a great platforming series, and that same principle applies to Little Big Planet karting. But instead of a level creator, you have a track editor and a track creator. You can create your own go-karts and all kinds of different characters. Between these three games, the possibilities are endless for creating levels and tracks, and just an awesome experience. Little Big Planet is a great game for platforming fans on the PS3. Here we have Twisted Metal. This is the newest game in the long-running car combat series that dates all the way back to the PlayStation 1. I had a lot of fun playing this game online with friends. This formula works very well to this day. All kinds of special moves like freeze bombs and all kinds of special moves for the different characters. Really dark storyline in this one. Awesome selection of vehicles and awesome special attacks. Twisted Metal is wide open car combat done to perfection, and this newest installment, it didn't sell well enough like it needed to, or it deserved to, but it's a great game in the franchise. Here we have the Jak and Daxter Collection, which is a collection of the 3 canon PS2 games that were released. Jak 1 was a straight-up collectathon platformer, seamless worlds, no load times, very bright, colorful, cheerful presentation. Jak 2 was a complete turnaround. It was a dark, kind of more mature storyline, Jak and vehicles, all different kinds of mission types, kind of a Grand Theft Auto influence. The third one takes that tradition a little farther, but pulls back on the whole edginess type gameplay style. It takes place out in the desert, all kinds of cool dune vehicles and desert-based buggies. Jak 3 is my favorite in the series. What an amazing game. An amazing trilogy on the PS2. Everything looks great here in 3D and HD on the PS3. Definitely worth it for platformer fans. Now next up we have another platforming series that's a favorite of mine. I have like the 3 favorite platforming series on the Sony platforms, and that is Ratchet and Clank, Jak and Daxter, and Sly Cooper. And Sly Cooper probably receives the littlest attention of the 3, but that is not deserved by any means. The Sly Cooper trilogy, that is a collection here on the PS3, is a collection of 3 fantastic games on the PS2. They look great here in HD. And Sly Cooper Thieves in Time is a masterpiece. This game is another one of those very little advertised, nobody even knew it came out type of deals on the PlayStation 3, where Sony just didn't properly advertise this game. Sly 4 has beautiful graphics, giant open worlds, and all kinds of cool characters going back in time in the Sly Cooper family tree to play as. Just a masterpiece. Platforming fans, you gotta own the Sly Cooper games. They're that good. Here we have PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, what should have been Sony's answer to Nintendo's Smash Brothers series. Got shit on by a lot of people, and I guess comparing it directly to Smash Brothers is the reason why. Sure, that Sony can't really measure up in terms of longevity of the characters, but the characters that are in here are awesome. I'm a huge fan of the PlayStation brand, so this game speaks a lot to me. It's got all the characters you know and love, Nathan Drake, Sly Cooper, Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, all put together in one fighting game. The fighting system works really well. If you're into Smash Brothers, there is no reason that you can't like this game on the PlayStation platform. If you love Sony characters, definitely take a look. Now here we have PlayStation Move Heroes, and if there's any game that should have sold PlayStation Move units, it should have been this one. Now don't get me wrong, I love PlayStation Move, if not just for the rail shooters. Games like House of the Dead and the Time Crisis work very well with the Move. But this game, combining the top 3 platformers in the Sony stables, should have been given proper love from a good studio. This was handed off to a shitty studio that doesn't make very good games, and the result is a mediocre game. Such a missed opportunity with great franchises. It's kind of sad to see, but it's an okay game. Here we have the Infamous games, Infamous 1 and 2. Being a big fan of Sly and Sucker Punch as a studio, I absolutely love the Infamous games. Open world superhero games with powers of electricity. Playing as Colmagrath is awesome. These games have style, substance, great playability, cool missions, and overall just epic single player games. Fans of action, platforming, games with like a superhero vibe, definitely check out Infamous. They're great games and must-owns on the PS3. Here we have the Uncharted series. This is by Naughty Dog, makers of Jak and Daxter, and in my opinion one of the best franchises on the PlayStation 3. This is the gaming's equivalent of the Hollywood summer blockbuster movie. Huge set pieces, amazing graphics, some of the best of the generation, awesome characters. Nathan Drake is a really likable guy. Kind of a male version of Tomb Raider. You explore caves, you're treasure hunting, action through and through. If you're into those kinds of games and enjoy platforming and shooting, definitely take a look at Uncharted. It's definitely one of the best action series ever made. Good stuff on the PlayStation 3. And here we have Naughty Dog's other game for the PlayStation 3. This is The Last of Us. Now, many people compared this to like a Uncharted survival horror or Uncharted apocalyptic, and it's got some similarities to Uncharted, but not many. A much slower paced game than Uncharted. The same beautiful graphics engine, one of the best looking games in the PlayStation 3, but this game is a much slower, much more survival based game where you have to craft a lot of items to stay alive. Beautiful scenery. Naughty Dog knows how to make games. They've perfected their craft, and this is one of the best on the PlayStation 3. Next up, we've actually got a good game on the move, and that is Sorcery. In this game, you use the Move controller as a wand, casting spells. There's some great Celtic music in this game. A pretty cool storyline of playing a wizard in training. Lots of good use of the Move. I really enjoyed playing through this game using the controller. Shows and gives an example of what the Move is capable of doing when used properly in a game. If you're looking for something for the PlayStation Move other than a railgun shooter, definitely check out Sorcery. And here we have another example of Sony's failed marketing. This is the Puppeteer. This is an amazing platformer with a stage-like presence. You've got canned laughter in the background and a voiceover narrating the whole experience. Just a magical game world, awesome gameplay elements, and a truly magical game on the PlayStation 3. It sounds corny, but this game is just that good. Fans of platformers with a distinct visual cutout style, definitely check out Puppeteer. Here we have the Journey Collection, and this is a three-piece collection of that game company's PSN masterpieces, Flow, Flower, and Journey. Now these three games are all examples of video games as an art form. Beautiful haunting music in Flower, really nice use of the 6-axis controls of the PlayStation 3, a beautiful world, and just a very emotion-filled game. It doesn't need to have any cutscenes or any dialogue to let you feel what this game is trying to convey. Same thing with Journey, traveling through a beautiful, desolate world, amazing music playing in the background. These games are for the gamer that likes something a little different, something different from the norm, and very artsy in its execution. Some beautiful music, definitely recommended. Now here we have David Cage, Quantic Dreams, Heavy Rain, and Beyond Two Souls. Now these games definitely, I will say, are not for everyone. But if you enjoyed his previous work like Indigo Prophecy, then you're going to be right at home with these. More along the lines of watching a movie unfold that you help shape. Different scenes can play out depending on your choices. Very little action, so to speak, but you still feel involved. I fell in love with Heavy Rain. It had me hooked from beginning to end, and it was a great experience. Now Beyond Two Souls is a little more polarizing in that it didn't quite get the same praise as Heavy Rain, but I still really enjoyed it. The thing is with Beyond Two Souls is that it's not like a start to finish game. It jumps a lot around in time periods, but it's still executed brilliantly. But I can see why people didn't like it as much as Heavy Rain. Myself, I love them both dearly. These are both excellent games on the PlayStation 3. Next up we have Folklore, and this is a very early release in the PlayStation 3's life cycle. It kind of came out of nowhere, not a lot of hype for it, but it really resonated with a lot of gamers that enjoy games with darker themes, kind of a dark tone, a mystery game at its core, kind of an action RPG battle system. You travel to different worlds and piece together the mystery of this small village where people have died. A really intriguing storyline kept me playing on this one, and I was really happy that this came out early on for the PlayStation 3. I really enjoyed the storyline. I haven't played it in some years, but I'd like to go back and play it again. Folklore is a great early game on the PlayStation 3. And another early excellent role-playing game on the PlayStation 3, this is Valkyria Chronicles. Now there's been some sequels released for the PSP, one stayed in Japan. This is an excellent semi-real-time strategy RPG with beautiful watercolor pastel graphics and an awesome storyline with some great voice acting, beautiful music. If you're a fan of turn-based with kind of like a real-time battle system, strategy RPG fans in general, take a look at Valkyria Chronicles. It's an excellent release on the PlayStation 3. Next up we have 3D Dot Game Heroes, and this is kind of like Atlus's version of Zelda. Very unique graphical style, bit graphics, very similar in style to Zelda. You go from dungeon to dungeon, hacking with a giant sword. If you like the older retro style games, looking for something like a throwback to earlier days, then definitely check out 3D Dot Heroes. Challenging and a very good looking game. I found this one very enjoyable, very happy to have it on PlayStation. This is the Eye of Judgment, and I cannot stress how much fun I had with this game. Not a lot of talk about this one anymore. When it came out, it was sold in like a starter pack. It came with the PlayStation Eye, a stand, a playing mat, and some cards. And I really got into this game's collectability aspect, where there was all kinds of rare cards, rare monsters. I bought tons of booster packs. This game has very easy to follow rules, an RPG battle system. You play it on your card on the mat, the camera scans the card, you see your monster appear on screen, you do battle, you take turns. I played this game a ton online, which is sadly no longer supported. But if you're into quirky, card-based battling games, you definitely got to check out Eye of Judgment. It was an awesome experience. Here we have Under Defeat HD Deluxe Edition. I could not find this in stores anywhere. I had to buy it off Amazon. It's a port of a Dreamcast helicopter shooting game. So if you played it back then on the Dreamcast, or you were into like Mars Matrix and Giga Wing, Dreamcast era shooters, you should be right at home with Under Defeat. A really enjoyable shooter. Time Crisis Raising Storm is an excellent on-rails shooter in the family of Time Crisis games. I loved these games back on the PlayStation 1 and 2. This game here bundles Raising Storm with, I believe, Time Crisis 4 and Deadwater Pirates. Using the PlayStation Move is extremely accurate. Bust out the sharpshooters, throw the Move controllers into those shooters, and have fun blasting with a friend through Time Crisis, the pirate game, and Time Crisis 4. Excellent on-rail shooter action. The Move handles them very well, nice and precise. Next up is Demon and Dark Souls. Now, I'm sure you guys are well aware of these games. Extremely difficult, but yet very rewarding. You must learn to play this game the way it wants you to succeed. Very atmospheric games, dark, dreadful, lots of suspense. These games will have you on the edge of your seat. If you can look past the difficulty and learn to play the game, I think you'll really enjoy these. Not exactly my type of game. My son Zach loves these games, but I appreciate what they're trying to do, and it's definitely a nice, fresh change of pace. Final Fantasy 13, 13-2, and Final Fantasy 14, A Realm Reborn. Final Fantasy 13 really split fans of the series down the middle. I really enjoyed 13. I thought it had a great story. I liked the characters a lot. Top-notch production values and music. A great battle system. 13-2 tried to open things up a little bit. It was met with a lot of criticism as well. If you're a fan of Final Fantasy, it's really tough to say if you'll like 13 and 13-2. Myself, I like them quite a bit, but they're definitely not the same as other Final Fantasies. Now, 14 was the MMO. I haven't been able to get too much into this game. I hope to get back to it sometime soon, but I don't think MMOs are for me. I have trouble getting into them, but I really wanted to give this a try due to all the great improvements I had heard. Eternal Sanada on the PlayStation 3 is a port of the 360 game with some added features. I myself really enjoyed the musical theme to this game, the storyline with Chopin, the great piano tracks, excellent battle system, really bright and light visual style, a pretty meaty campaign to this. I think I spent 25 hours playing through this. All in all, a fantastic RPG on the new consoles. Tales of Exilia and Tales of Grace's F. Grace's F is a port of a Wii game with some enhancements. I really enjoyed Grace's F. It has a slow start, you play as the younger kids, but as the game goes on, it becomes that much more engrossing. A really heartfelt storyline, lots of twists and turns, an excellent Tales battle system, as in all the games. Exilia is one of my favorites in the series next to Vesperia. I'm a huge fan of the Tales of games, probably my second favorite RPG series of all time, behind the Lunar games on the Sega CD. So if you like Japanese role-playing games, you cannot go wrong with the Tales series. This is Kingdom Hearts 1.5 Remix. You know the deal if you're a Kingdom Hearts fan, combining Square and Disney into one action RPG package. You can't go wrong. I myself like Kingdom Hearts. I don't really have a grasp of what's going on in the story, which is kind of essential for me in RPGs, but I'm willing to overlook that due to my love of Disney characters and Square. Nier and Resonance of Fate are cut from the same cloth in that they are both two highly underrated RPGs, one being an action RPG and one being a traditional RPG with turn-based battles. Nier, I believe, comes from the Drakengard universe, which I really enjoy Drakengard 1 and 2 on the PS2. What an underrated game. Nier's got some fantastic music, a great storyline, a great setting and atmosphere, just desolate worlds. Kind of reminds me of Shadow of the Colossus, and the world is just so alone, but beautiful while not being like an extraordinary looking game. Nier is a classic, great gameplay change-ups. Resonance of Fate has got one of the most difficult to understand and complex battle systems ever, but it's one of those systems where when you finally master it, you really enjoy all of its nuances. Some great gunplay, really cool storyline in kind of a steampunk setting. The world of Basil is built on gears and cogs. Two great underrated RPGs that can be found relatively easy and relatively cheap. Highly recommended. Here we have another 3 role-playing games on the PlayStation 3. Ninokuni, which is a great original RPG from level 5. I played this game from beginning to end and fell in love with the massive amount of content in this game. I have the Wizard's Edition that's got all kinds of lore detailed in the Wizard's Handbook, a great battle system with familiars, a visually stunning game, very charming, excellent music. Star Ocean is a continuation of one of my favorite RPG series, which is the Star Ocean series. Not a lot of fans really got into this newest entry. I myself liked it quite a bit. It's got an excellent real-time battle system like the Tales games, and I really dig the sci-fi setting. White Knight Chronicles is another level 5 game. The second one here comes bundled with the first, and it's a direct continuation. These games weren't up to the high standards of other level 5 games, but they are very enjoyable nonetheless, and I had a great time playing through them. I absolutely love Catherine to death. I really enjoyed the block climbing, puzzle-based gameplay, the breathtaking cinematics, and a great story that you don't see often in video games. Very much targeted towards the early 30s male. A great story with 2 Catherines, intrigue and love, a great special edition. Catherine is a great game. Kingdoms of Amalur: The Reckoning gets a lot of attention for the wrong reasons. I'm sure you've all heard of this controversy surrounding the studio going bankrupt and all of the legal shenanigans going on. But this game is up for sale in December, and I hope it goes to a new studio that will give it the love it deserves, because it is an awesome Western action RPG, very much in the vein of Skyrim, pulled back on detail a little bit with a third-person perspective, awesome battle system, great scenery and locales. I love the world and the look of this game, some great music. This is an action RPG done right. Dragon Age Origins and Dragon Age 2 are some of my favorite role-playing games this generation. Consider it like Mass Effect in the medieval times, strictly in terms of how the story plays out with the choices you can make that affect the storyline. Awesome settings and locations, great impact on gameplay due to storyline choices, and overall I really love the setting. The sequel changed things up quite a bit with an action battle system instead of the kind of PC-ish attack and wait system from the first. But a great series, and I can't wait for the newest entry. Dragon's Dogma is a great game from Capcom. They definitely took a gamble on this style of game. A massive, huge world to explore, excellent pawn system allowing you to recruit characters, a great battle system, and an intriguing storyline. Dragon's Dogma surprised me for all the right reasons. What a great game. The following 3 games are some of my favorite action games from this generation. We've got Binary Domain, Vanquish, and Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. Now, Vanquish is an awesome third-person shooter, giving you the ability to use jets to boost along the ground and slide and take cover. Lightning-quick gameplay, a really funny storyline. It's not intended to be funny, but the way it's portrayed and acted comes off as really Japanesey, really cool stuff. Binary Domain is an excellent game with a really good story that I found interesting. I know it wasn't the best to some people, but I really liked it. And I liked the gunplay, shooting the robots, watching them blow apart piece by piece. Excellent combat system. And Metal Gear, I'm typically not a fan of Metal Gear games. I've tried to get into them, but this game is all action, all hack and slash, and I love the battle system placed in this. Awesome combos where you can slow down and like slice up things piece by piece. Some of the finest action games available on the system. These are all worth a purchase. Castlevania Lords of Shadow is Castlevania brought into the newest generation of consoles, done right. This game has got some amazing music. All the environments are so like enchanted looking. I know it sounds corny to say that, but I'm talking like misty bogs, enchanted looking trees, just gorgeous set pieces. I'm a huge fan of the visual style of this game. Great story, great hack and slash gameplay that borrows from other genres like Shadow of the Colossus, a little bit of Devil May Cry. Lords of Shadow is an excellent Castlevania game, and I'm eagerly anticipating the sequel. Here are some more HD collections on the PS3. I'm really proud to own these HD collections. I think they're great ideas and really look good on the system. Darksiders 1 and 2 are some of my favorite action RPGs ever released on any platform, mimicking Zelda in certain elements with huge dungeons to explore, but the settings are what really interest me in this game. Playing as war and death is awesome. The Four Horsemen storyline is great. Excellent voice acting and stories, great combat, excellent combo system, and beautiful environments to explore make this an action RPG series that's one of a kind. I hope we see future installments. Dante's Inferno got unfairly compared to God of War, when there are some similarities, but it is definitely its own game. I really enjoyed this game. It's got awesome graphics, awesome representation of the different levels of hell, and a great storyline. Now granted, this game may peter out quite a bit towards the end. It seems like they ran out of ideas, but getting to do battle with Satan and his dangling ballsack is always a plus. No More Heroes is a port of a Wii game on the PlayStation 3 with some beefed up visuals, and parts of No More Heroes 2 thrown in this. Works great with the PlayStation Move controller, aping the Wii and pointer controls pretty well, working better here with the Move. A great game from the Wii brought over to the PS3 with fantastic results. Conan is a really underrated game and probably the only good game released from Nihilistic as a company. We're talking vicious combos. You're going to see organs, veins, man, the most bloody, carnage-filled combat, some nudity, staying pretty faithful to the Robert E. Lee comics and short stories. Voiced by Ron Perlman, Conan is one of my favorite hack and slash games. It's a great one. Survival horror fans have a lot to love on the PlayStation 3, especially if you're into Silent Hill. Now the HD collection contains parts 2 and 3, while Homecoming and Downpour are all new entries in the series. Now the HD collection looks great on the PS3. Unfortunately, it doesn't have 1 or The Room, but Homecoming and Downpour are 2 all new entries in the series, and I think they're better than a lot of Silent Hill fans give them credit for. I thoroughly enjoy this series and they're great on the PS3. Deadly Premonition is separate from the Silent Hill series, but has earned its place in my horror collection due to the game mechanics that are so bad it makes the game good. A very quirky storyline, a quirky cast of characters, and an open world murder mystery really immersed me into this world of survival horror. The original Dead Space shocked a lot of people, gained a lot of fans. Dead Space 2 gained a lot more fans, and Dead Space 3 pissed all those fans off. Now, I'm not saying Dead Space 3 is a bad game, it's just way different than the first one. They kind of lessened up on the jump scares and the dark corridors and made it more about firefights and open areas. It just doesn't have the same feel as the first or the second, but I still enjoy the game, and I hope the series continues because it's a great horror series. The Batman Arkham Trilogy is without a doubt the finest batch of superhero games ever made. They all feature excellent graphics, riveting storylines, a dark and gritty feel matching the comic books, and an all-star cast of DC villains expertly voiced. The first game came out and shocked everyone. The second one was an improvement of that, adding an open world feel. And the third one took the establishing formula and ran with it even further with some awesome DC villains and story. Injustice is not part of the Arkham trilogy, but it is set in the DC universe featuring Batman and all the other awesome DC characters, done by the Mortal Kombat fighting team. If you enjoyed the Mortal Kombat reboot from a few years ago, you'll love Injustice. Next up, I've got a giant stack of PlayStation Move games. I really enjoyed the PlayStation Move. I think it got a lot of flack, some of it deserved, but the actual mechanics work very well. It's very nice technology. Notable releases being Sports Champions 1 and 2. Medieval Moves is a great game. Wonder Book, not so much. The Fight Lights Out is excellent. Child of Eden works very well. All in all, PlayStation Move is definitely a worthwhile accessory for a PlayStation fan. Killer is Dead is from the same minds that brought you Killer 7, Shadows of the Damned, Lollipop Chainsaw, so you know what to expect. Quirky Japanese hack and slash action, overly violent, assassins. You know the drill. If you enjoy No More Heroes and those kinds of games, you'll definitely love Killer is Dead. Warriors Legends of Troy is brought to you by the same team that did Dynasty Warriors. This is a really underrated game here on the PS3. Not a lot of talk about it. It wasn't in stores for very long. But if you like Dynasty Warriors, 100-on-1 odds, lots of blood, and a more historical storyline with like Prince Hector and Achilles, you'll definitely dig Warriors Legends of Troy. Prince of Persia 2008 is my personal favorite Prince of Persia ever made. I hope they make another game in this universe featuring this prince. A great cel-shaded type look, wide open world, tackle missions in any order. What a great Prince of Persia this was. Some great games with female leads, Mirror's Edge, a first-person platformer with some parkour elements, and a focus on disarming and stealth. A really cool approach, first-person running, never looked better. I'm excited for the sequel if it ever comes out. And then Remember Me, which is another underrated gem on the PS3. This came out earlier on in the year and was forgotten about pretty quick. It's a really cool game where you remix memories and play in the future. Some really cool story elements and some superb graphics. Dark Sector was one of the early games for the PlayStation 3, and it reminded me of a Gears of War style game with a cover system, great gunplay. What makes this game unique is your glaive. It's a blade you can throw kind of like a boomerang. It comes back to you every time, viciously decapitating enemies on the way. What a great shooter early on in the life cycle. Bionic Commando got a lot of hate from Bionic Commando fans. I really enjoyed the swinging mechanics. I think once you got them down, it was a really enjoyable third-person shooter with some great environments, and Just Cause 2, in my opinion, is a masterpiece. The Island of Panu is beautiful, huge. The grappling hook parachute combo makes for some really thrilling gameplay. Overall, 3 excellent games on the PS3. Here are some of my racing games on the PlayStation 3. Grid and Dirt are fantastic racers done by Codemasters. Very realistic with an arcade feeling thrown in there. Lots of fun to play. Both have excellent graphics and frame rates, great sense of speed. Burnout Paradise is a very early release on the PS3. Wide open environment, Paradise City is awesome to drive around in. Some great crashing modes, a really fun game. Blur tried to combine Mario Kart with real life racing to some mixed results. Didn't really get a lot of recognition or love from players or critics. House of the Dead Overkill is an over-the-top rail shooter in the House of the Dead series. Excellent playing with the move. This game is outlandish in its dialogue, cuss words every 2 seconds, really fun to play. Back to the Future is an excellent point-and-click game from the makers of The Walking Dead. If you like Back to the Future, you'll love this game. DuckTales Remastered, no disc inside, special pin and a download code. And last but certainly not least are 2 Rockstar games I chose to get on the PlayStation 3. The others I have on 360. LA Noire is one of my favorites ever made. Team Bondi did an excellent job on the early 1900s in LA, solving murders and putting together clues, interrogating witnesses. Facial animations are excellent. Amazing game. Grand Theft Auto, what can I say that hasn't already been said? One of the best games of the generation, a technical marvel, and a truly enjoyable game. If you have stuck through this entire video, I want to thank you guys. You are the reason that I'm here on YouTube making videos. Gamesville really is nothing without you. And let's give a tip of the hat to the PlayStation 3, man. What an excellent system. Despite a rocky start, it came back, came with excellent games, excellent exclusives, great franchises were born in the system. Truly a masterpiece from Sony. And let's look forward to the PS4 in a few days. I know I can't wait to get my system and begin the next generation.